Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Issues and Updates meeting for the Board of Clackamas County Commissioners on November 21st, 2023. Thanksgiving week. It's going to be a short week for us, Gary. Gary Schmidt, Administrator, what is up first?
Thank you, Chair Smith. Good morning, Commissioners. All Commissioners are present. Because we were not here last week for the Association of Oregon Counties Conference, you have a full agenda for issues today, and I'm concerned you may not finish by noon. So with respect and the Chair's approval, we'll go until we're finished. Because of a short week this week, we need to get through all these items today. So we'll start with the consent agenda requests. At 11 a.m. sharp, we'll stop wherever we're at to have your discussion with the company Prothman that is doing your county council recruitment, because that's the hard start time for that contractor to be here. And you do have an 11:30 a.m. policy session. So we'll make it all fit, but we may have to stay past the noon hour, Commissioners.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. With that, Chair, would you please convene as the Water Environment Services Board?
I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Water Environment Services Board.
This is request for consent agenda for Water Environment Services. Item 1, approval of a contract with Michaels Trenchless for the collection system rehabilitation project. Total value is $1,174,349 for 8 months. Funding through Water Environment Services Sanitary Sewer Construction Fund. No county general funds are involved. Greg Geist, Director of Water Environment Services. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. Every year, WES inspects about 50 miles of our 350 miles approximately of pipes that we have in the ground. We do condition assessments, and annually we have contracts to rehabilitate a certain number of those pipes. This contract is with Michaels. It's for 6,800 feet of pipe rehabilitation, 4 manholes. We brought this to the board in late October.
Right.
There was a mistake in the packet. We corrected the mistake. Now we're back.
Okay, thank you. What was the correction?
A supplemental general condition form inadvertently included Fisher Forest Park as on it.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you, Greg.
Item 2, approval of an amendment with Brown & Brown of Oregon, LLC for comprehensive insurance brokerage and risk management consulting services. Amendment value is $165,124 for 4 years. Total contract value is increased to $277,768 for 6 years. Funding is through Water Environment Services, Sanitary Sewer, and Surface Water Operating Funds. No county general funds are involved.
So this is a contract with Brown & Brown to be our insurance, agent of record. And so we piggybacked on this contract with the county back in 2021. Prior to that, we were using Marsh, the company called Marsh, to do this work. In 2020, we paid $70,000 a year for that. Again, we piggybacked with the county on a contract, got that cost down significantly. Everything's working well. We contacted Risk. They're going to come to you shortly with a very similar or identical request to extend the county's contract with Brown & Brown.
So this is an insurance policy for 6 years. Am I reading that right?
Well, it's our what they do is understand what our risk profile is, what our assets are, and we have a very complex operation, very complex assets, complex risk profiles, and so they go out and they find the different insurance, and there's a very complex world of insurance products out there, and so they go understand what our needs are, find the products, and make the recommendation to get that coverage.
Thank you very much for that. Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Chair, would you please convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District?
I will recess as the Water Environment Services and convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District.
You are now meeting as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. First item is the Milwaukee Community Center Advisory Board Bylaws Amendment. As you know, any change to bylaws of an advisory board you must approve, Commissioners. Dominic Cortinas is the Deputy Director of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I'm here just to ask an amendment to our bylaws. Currently, the bylaws state that the advisory board should meet 12 times a year, once a month. We're looking to update that to have that revised to 9 times per year with some flexibility in there so that we don't have to meet every month, specifically if there's not required items that require action from the advisory board.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections?
In this case, if you could take action with the form of a motion to approve, please.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, move to approve the amendment?
seconded.
Commissioner Savas has moved to approve the amendment to the NCPRD Milwaukee Community Center Advisory Board bylaws. Was it Commissioner Schull? Second the motion. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Director Schrader.
Aye.
Director West.
Aye.
Director Scholl.
Aye.
Director Savas. Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. We're still in the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. This is now request for consent agenda. Item 1, approval of an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County related to construction of the Oak Lodge Library. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved. Jeff Munns, County Council, will present.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. This is an amendment to the construction IGA for the construction of the Oak Lodge Library at the NCPRD property at Concord School. This is connected to item number 3 under Development and Transportation, which is the guaranteed maximum price P&C construction contract. What we're doing is amending our IGA to allow for a mechanism for NCPRD to be responsible to pay for its portion of those projects. Because until we had all the specifics, we weren't able to give specificity in this IGA, so now we're coming back, amending it to be very clear, and that way it keeps the county's contract with PNC kind of unmodified and just moves forward in a simple way.
Questions or comments?
Just quickly, I'm okay with this. I just want to remind Dominic, I think you were up here last time, I mentioned I'd like to better understand the funding for the Milwaukee Center. And that nothing's happened that I'm aware of, so I just want to remind you that I'm still interested.
We're actively working on to get you all the numbers
What was
on
that
that.
question again, Paul?
To better understand how the funding for the Milwaukee Center works.
Okay, seeing no objection.
Oh, wait a minute.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, Mark.
Yes, what are the actual changes, the cost changes here, and does NCPRD have the funds on hand to pay for it?
I can answer that. The changes here to the agreement are contained in the amendment. It's a one-page document. It basically talks about the portions of the overall project that'll be NCPRD's responsibility, and that's the community park, including the park shelter and water feature, the playground, community center improvements, half of the site work, including parking areas, landscaping, hardscapes, utilities, and sidewalks outside of the community park area, and half of the Concord Road frontage improvements. So that would be the addition to the IGA to make it clear what portions of the P&C contract NCPRD would be paying for, and that those funding sources for the overall project would be coming from NCPRD, grants, it's SDC funds, the general funds from NCPRD for those improvements. The Oak Lodge Library costs are separate.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, one question I have was I see the 50/50 here for the work. And maybe this might be the time, I just want to just plant the seed anyhow, and that is to better understand, we certainly understand that the footprint of the library will be owned by the county in the capacity for a library. But the fact that we are paying for some of these improvements, which I don't have a problem with the formula, that's what y'all find, but that is, how do we assure in ongoing that some of the parking is owned by the library somehow, I guess, or is there an agreement for $1 a year that parking will be shared, so that it's never a dispute?
That's a good question, and it's what we'll be coming back to you with in the future. Once we get construction started, we can move forward with the condominium plat arrangement, which allows for this site plan that we currently have. In that arrangement, it's a standard practice in the industry to put in the operating agreement. And so that will be all of those discussions about ongoing kind of site management, joint site management, utilization of the parking, other common areas. All those components can be placed in that agreement, this operating agreement, as far as splitting of those costs between the county and the Parks District going forward.
Okay. I'll look for that operating agreement.
We're looking forward to putting that together.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you please convene as the development agency?
I will recess as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District and convene as a development agency.
This is the request for consent agenda for the Development Agency. Item 1, approval of a property transfer intergovernmental agreement between the Clackamas County Development Agency and Clackamas County. Negotiated acquisition price is $799,300. Funding is through Metro Supportive Housing Services Funds. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair Smith. Commissioners, you are aware the Development Agency owns 2 pieces of property down off 115th. One is currently the site of the Veterans Village operated by Clackamas County. And the second is under consideration for a possible expansion pending further discussions with H3S about how we operationalize that. At its core, though, the Development Agency needs to convey these properties. Essentially, we've had good faith negotiations with H3S. Essentially, the dollar amount that you see here is a market rate that we then adjusted down a little bit for improvements they did to the site that should be credited against all the acquisition value. So essentially, this IGA stipulates the method and rules and regulations in regards to the transfer from the agency to H3S. There is also a partner agreement that H3S will bring up to you here in a second that basically mirrors this, which is their acceptance of that property. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I do have a question on this. Is this both pieces? Thank you. I have a question. Is this both pieces of
It is.
property? Okay, so finally, we are purchasing the property that has been under lease to the Development Agency for a very long time. I, for one, am very happy because it's now a clean transaction. The money goes back to the Development Agency, and probably for the first time in really the history of the commission, we actually have money to do some of these things. For the record, I want it to be known, for anybody listening, there is going to be an expansion of a home of services in the pod-style, I don't know what you call it, venue or whatever, on this, and we've been very open about that. We are working diligently to try to help solve the homeless situation in this county. And we're looking at very unique ways and opportunities to do that maybe some of our neighboring jurisdictions are not doing. And we have done outreach to the businesses in the area. I have talked to Happy Valley leadership. I have talked to others in the area, and it has been met with no opposition so far. So we'll see how this goes. Commissioner West.
I'm a little curious. I'm glad to see that we're doing this. I think this is definitely the next step. This has been a long time coming. I'm a little bit curious to know how our continued outreach to the immediate businesses right there by these parcels has been. Commissioner Scholl and I did take a visit out there and spend quite a bit of time with the auto body shop, with the Trust was it Trussell Company? Precision Trust, and some of those entities. And so though we have seen some really good stuff, I still think there is some good neighbor stuff we can do better at, and I want us to be super aware that we got to be acutely aware of that need. So I'm hoping that property, while we figure this out, especially the one that hasn't been developed yet, is better secured than it had been with the fencing. So I don't know if
That's a great question for H3S when they come up here and have a discussion with you at the acquisition. Yep.
I'll answer that question. Yes, we've reached out to those businesses since you, Commissioner Shull and West met. Emily Klepper from our office, your office, has been reaching directly with those businesses. We have some more outreach we're going to do after today, once you approve this, assumedly. And also, we're going to work with the community. So we have everything's in line and working, so we're moving forward on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I'm more than happy to still be a part of that conversation. I think we had really important conversation with those that are directly impacted.
Yeah, I think that's important on the outreach, because issues always come up. I mean, it's a construction project. Issues always come up. It doesn't matter what it is. So thank you very much for that, Dan. Seeing no objections about this moving forward, thank you.
Very good. Dan, you can stay. Chair, would you please convene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will recess as a development agency and convene as a Board of County Commissioners.
Next is request for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. First, Transportation and Development. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for a research project to inform the county's work on reducing driving under the influence. The grant value is $50,000 for 1 year with matching funds of $12,712. Funding through the state grant and matching funds through the county road fund. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, go ahead.
I'm really not sure what I'm going to add to that, but essentially, we're looking for board authorization to enter into this IGA for these grant funds. Essentially, this is a data collection component. And that data will basically help position our Drive to Zero program into securing an additional grant in 2024, 2025 to build an effective intervention campaign for distribution countywide for our Drive to Zero program.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for the Safe Communities Grant Renewal. The grant value is $25,000 for 1 year with matching funds of $6,893.38. Funding through state grant and matching funds through county road funds. No county general funds are involved.
This is an additional safety grant. We're looking for the board's authorization to approve this IGA. This work will be focused on reducing distracted driving to support our pedestrian safety work. Essentially encouraging drivers to expect and pay attention to pedestrians, animals, children playing, bicycles, and other normal challenges when driving drivers face every day on the roadway. But basically, this will be a county-wide effort to inform and educate.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a guaranteed maximum price contract with PNC Construction for construction of the Concord Park, Park Shelter, Splash Pad, and site work. Amendment value is $4,633, $4,633,620. The total contract value is now $4,638,881. Let me say it again, $4,638,888. Wow, 4 million. Wow, let me try it again. Let me start again. The amendment value, $4,633,620. Total contract value is now $4,638,881. Funding through Metro Local Share Grant, Hoodview Park Disposition Proceeds, North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District System Development Charges Funds, and North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District General Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Excellent. Just a quick reminder. So basically, PNC Construction is our construction manager and general contractor. Essentially, they were selected in September of 2021. And what you're seeing now are amendments that are coming forward to activate additional work under a guaranteed max price contract. This particular contract is basically to build the new Concord Park, including the covered park shelter and the splash pad. It also includes North Clackamas Parks and Rec District's portion of the site work, which includes the parking area, landscape, hardscaping, et cetera. It's important to understand the discussion you just had with County Council, because basically that IGA then authorizes North Clackamas and directs North Clackamas funds and ability to pay for some of these improvements. This is a county contract, okay? That's why I'm talking about it, not North Clackamas. It's a county contract. North Clackamas Parks and Rec is a third-party beneficiary, and then that IGA is in place with approval of the consent agenda to pay for these dollars. I want to make sure that there will be additional amendments coming forward as well. Basically, those amendments will focus on the community center, which is under discussion right now, and also the playground. And both those are in process, but those will be additional amendments that come forward. But it's kind of this incremental approach to activating certain sections of this contract with PNC. But they are the overall contractor for this particular project, including Gladstone Construction as well.
When will construction start?
Well, they're mobilizing. We had a delay, and the delay was around kind of the land use proceedings for the library. That decision has been issued in our favor. The hope is that they will be mobilizing on site, start probably in the month of December. A contractor will, and then that work will be split between these various projects to maximize the efficiencies of that group as they're on the site.
So we're already behind schedule. A little bit, and nothing to do with
Yeah.
the department.
We wish we were out there right now, but we're going through the steps we have to go through. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none?
Thank you. Next, Juvenile Department. Item 1, approval of an amendment of a grant agreement with the Oregon Department of Education for Juvenile Crime Prevention Services. Amendment value is $495,377 for 2 years. Total agreement value is increased to $970,625 for 4 years. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Education. No county general funds are involved. Christina McMahon, Director of the Juvenile Department. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. Christina McMahon. I am here to request that you put this on the consent agenda. Every biennium, we receive this money through the Oregon Department of Education, specifically the Youth Development Division, and we use it to support our diversion program that exists in all 11 cities and towns throughout our county to provide services to low-risk, first-time offenders who have come to the attention of law enforcement, and we have a very high success rate of keeping those young people from actually graduating to coming to our department to be served by the juvenile department. So this is a very important funding source, and we serve approximately 200 youth a year through this.
Wow. Important funding and important service. Commissioner West.
Can you expand just a little bit on like what those prevention services look like for this population?
Well, they're prevention and early intervention. It's kind of a combination. There are services that include meeting with the young people, doing a risk assessment, and the meetings include their families, and then identifying the risk factors that brought them to the attention of law enforcement, and then creating an individual family plan to address whatever those factors were. And there's an accountability piece, making sure that they're accountable, apologizing to the victim in a way that is agreeable to the victim. Sometimes that's a letter, sometimes that's in person. And there's community service projects as well.
Do you guys work with the school system?
This is outside of the school system. It's more in conjunction with the police departments in the communities.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no objections. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Health, Housing, and Human Services. Item 1, approval of a subrecipient blueprint grant with Providence Willamette Falls Medical Center for the Better Outcomes Through Bridges program. Agreement value is $54,715.40 for 6 months. Funding is through Health Share of Oregon and Trillium Community Health Plans. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Better Outcome Through Bridges program aims to decrease emergency room visits for Medicaid-eligible individuals with mental health issues. Since the start of the contract, the Better Homes Through Bridges program has reduced emergency department utilization by 58% in just 6 months. Through this agreement, the program will be able to increase the number of clients supported by peer support specialists from 150 to 200, and the number of clients served by the outreach specialists from 120 to 200.
Wow. This is a wonderful program. Commissioner West.
Is this just through Providence Willamette Falls Medical Center, or are we partnering with like Kaiser? Are there programs like that that help mitigate the the incorrect usage of our emergency departments with other
I think this particular grant is specifically with Willamette Falls, Providence Willamette Falls.
It's the foundation.
Yes.
It's the foundation, not the hospital.
Yes,
okay.
that's the foundation.
Which, that's a,
Okay. Good work. Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, approval of a personal services contract with Focus Strategies Company for technical assistance and strategic planning for homeless services in rural Clackamas County. Contract value is $400,000 for 4 years. Funding is through budgeted county general funds.
Focus Solutions has assisted over 50 communities in reducing homelessness by identifying issues, developing solutions, and setting performance goals. The scope of work will include a current state assessment work plan, a needs assessment, and a strategic planning and project support. The deliverables will include an evaluation of provider capacity, the need for interim and permanent housing services, and a strategic plan to address homelessness in rural areas aligned with the county's priorities. The agreement is funded by $400,000 from county general funds, specifically for rural services outside the urban growth boundary in Clackamas County.
Very good. Do we have any other funds besides general funds that serves the rural Clackamas County for this need? And the answer is yes, and maybe they can address that when they come up next time. But there is, which is very nice. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of an amendment increasing funding and duration of a revenue lease agreement with Project Quest. The amendment value is $20,000 for 4 years. Agreement value increased to $40,000 for 8 years. Funding is through Project Quest. No county general funds are involved.
This lease agreement with Project Quest is a nonprofit organization focusing on integrative healthcare, which will ensure that patients who get acupuncture, yoga, social support, or non-opioid pain management can get on-site services. So we basically generate funds from their partnership being in our facility.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 4, approval of an amendment increasing funding and duration of a subrecipient agreement with Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon for the Economic Development Project. The amendment value is $82,300 for 7 months. Total agreement value is increased to $164,600 for 19 months. Funding is through Federal Community Development Block Grant funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, and this one's structured a little different. So in 2021, Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon was awarded a Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, for 3 years to offer bilingual staffing and technical assistance to low-income entrepreneur, grow micro businesses in unincorporated parts of Clackamas County. The original agreement provided funding for the first year. This request is for approval for the second year. The funds provided by this amendment is estimated to support about 30 low to moderate income micro businesses owners over the program year.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
I have a question.
Item 5, approval of an amendment increasing funding and duration of an expense intergovernmental agreement with the City of Lake Oswego for ambulance services. The amendment value is $43,368.48 for 1 year. Total agreement value is increased to $247,803.72 for over 10.67 years. Funding is through the Cost Savings Program with AMR Northwest. No county general funds are involved.
In 2014, the county partnered with the consortium, including Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, Clackamas Fire, and Lake Oswego Fire, to ensure a paramedic response within the AMR Ambulance Service Agreement. The AMR Ambulance Service Agreement mandates that paramedics will be present in consortium areas 90% of the time, allowing for faster arrivals in urban and suburban areas. This is funded through a partnership. The money comes back. 20% of it goes for compassion care, so that's for people who cannot afford the medical services they provide. If transportation is needed. 20% system enhancements, that's technical equipment, and then 60% is the funding for this particular project where paramedics are purchased. And again, we've been talking a lot about ambulance service and response times. This provides the paramedics, they get there before AMR and allows AMR a longer period of time to arrive. So that's what this is ensuring, quick response from the paramedics.
With this service operational, does that reduce the trips to the hospital?
I'm not sure if it reduced trips, but it reduces the time that you don't have to wait for AMR to arrive before medical services are being provided to the individual in need.
Very timely. Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 6, approval of a property transfer intergovernmental agreement between the Clackamas County Development Agency and Clackamas County. Negotiated acquisition price is $799,300. Funding is through Metro Supportive Housing Services funds. No county general funds are involved.
So you just heard from Dan on this, but I'll report it, say it again for the record. The development agency owns 6.94 acres of land leased to H3S, one of which houses the Clackamas County's Veterans Village, and the other is being considered for shelter facility expansion. During an executive session on October 3rd, 2023, the board directed us to proceed with the transfer of the ownership to the county. This agreement outlines the terms and conditions that must be met for the property to transfer to occur.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Thank you. Next, County Administration, Item 1, Cooperation Agreement with the Clackamas County Arts Alliance for artwork to be placed in the replacement county courthouse. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved. Nancy Bush, County Operating Officer, go ahead, please.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. Yes, this is our cooperative agreement between the Clackamas County and the County Arts Alliance. They will be our fiscal agent for the artwork. They will be working with artists. They call for artists. They're helping us identify what goes in what space, those types of things. They also will be doing some fundraising for us as well for this particular project.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Okay.
Item 2, approval of a change order number 8 with Clackamas Progress Partners LLC for the replacement county courthouse. Change order net value is $72,858.45, leaving credits of $663,780.35. Funding is through credits from previous change orders, which does include budgeted county general funds.
All right, thank you. So just kind of go back in May of '23, we did get credits of $771,773, which means we are still under budget with the courthouse. So, but this change order does spend some of those credits. We will have some other changes coming, but the net value is at $72,858. Just to kind of outline some of the things that are changing here. There's some ADA items related to wheelchair, being able to put wheelchairs in the courtrooms, making some changes there, storage for wheelchairs, doing outlets for people to be able to charge their wheelchairs, those types of things. There's some removal of some of the caging that we did have in some areas where defendants will not be held. So, and it's to keep them from going through the ceiling and then around, but we're taking that out of some of those spaces. We're making changes to some of the doors. Some of the doors were double doors. We're making those single doors, for example. The cafe, we added a dishwasher there. There's some things we had to do to make sure that it was compliant for the health code. But there's just a lot. I mean, this is obviously a very large document. I think it's like 690 pages. It's very detailed, but in general, it's those types of changes that we're making. There's nothing that's cosmetic. Like, there's nothing in here. Those are no-cost change orders, which we have, like if we change the color of the paint on the wall, for example. So what is in here are things that we need, things that we've taken a look at in the plans, and have went through very carefully to make sure it's a need for the courthouse.
So where did these change orders come from?
Technically, they come from us. So we say, so the team that is looking at all this, so we have people in the sheriff's office, the DA's office, DHS, et cetera. Excuse me, and as we're working through construction, we're looking at the plans. For example, it's like we had no place to store the wheelchairs if we have someone in the jury that's in a wheelchair, for example. Or, so that, and then it's like we have to fix that because it's an ADA issue.
Mm-hmm. I understand ADA.
Yeah, so that's where it comes
Going
from.
from a two-door entry to a single-door entry, why is that?
Some of it has to do with movement, excuse me, some of that has to do with movement in the courthouse and what you can get through a double door as opposed to what you can get through a single door.
The movement of people?
People, items, yeah.
And how many doors are we changing?
I would have to go through that document.
I think all the doors needed to be changed.
It's not all the doors, no, ma'am.
Change orders can be quite problematic, as you know. And you and I have discussed this at length yesterday.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why we went with the P3 model, and I want the other people outside this room to know this, including PCL Construction, is the reason why we went with the P3 model, to avoid costly change orders going forward. And regardless of who wants it, whether it's the sheriff's department, the district attorney's office, or the court system, unless they want to pay for that out of their pockets, I suggest that no more change orders come before this board.
We will have more change orders.
I know we're going to have more change orders because it's the nature of the construction, but it depends on what the change orders are for.
I agree.
I'm making a statement, Nancy, you don't have to say a thing.
Okay, okay.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no Mark?
Yes, Nancy Bush, I just want to thank you for being tough on some of the other requests that have come in on changes that you've said no to. And I understand that the changes that you're presenting to us today are required. So thank you very much for your work on that. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no objections?
Thank you. Next, Finance Department, item 1, approval of an amendment to a public improvement contract with Professional Service Industries, Intertech, for courthouse special inspection testing. Amendment value is $187,680, for a total contract value is now increased to $333,065. Funding is through budgeted county general funds and is eligible for a 50% reimbursement from the State of Oregon Courthouse Capital Construction and Improvement Fund. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. This one's a little unique. Last spring, we brought you this contract with PSI for required mandatory inspections of the courthouse. We brought it to you with an amount of $145,000. That actually was a calculation that was done. We're splitting this contract in half, 50-50, with our PCL, with our contractors. And then we were also going to ask for, it's eligible for 50% reimbursement from the state on our portion. Turns out, and that's why I've asked Nancy to sit with me, is as our project manager, she's in negotiations and in conversations with PCL. At this time, the city or the county is responsible for this contract in a whole. And the entire contract for these mandatory inspections is $333,000, which you see attached to the staff report. So the county has been paying each of these invoices as they've come in monthly for these inspections in whole. And we will further down the road understand what PCL's relationship or portion they will pay, and then that difference we will then seek the state's reimbursement. So this is a correction for our contract amount in total with PSI for these inspections. Payments by whom yet to be determined. So I apologize that it's very confusing, it's very messy, but at this time I do ask you to consider allowing us to increase the contract amount with PCI for the full amount.
Has it been budgeted for?
We have now this full amount in the budget. I've penciled it in, so it is now included.
Is that a supplemental budget that will need to be approved?
Because we've not spent all the dollars yet, we still have estimates on a lot of our related projects. So this is outside of the four quarters. So these are the related county projects that we budget. A lot of those are estimates, like the SDCs that we had estimated, like over, I think they were budgeted initially at 5.2 million, came in at 4.8 million. So we have some movement. So this we can accommodate in the total amount, but we're hoping at the end of the day, we do get to share this expense with PCL. And I don't know if you'd like to elaborate.
I will add, it is budgeted, Commissioners. It is budgeted.
Yes.
The
Yes.
entire budget is included. There's,
Sorry.
we gain some, we lose some. It's within the total budget you've already authorized.
We
Thank
have
you.
capacity for this, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is there was confusion at first about all of this too. By state law, we have to hold this contract. By state law, we have to pay this contract.
Sure.
So, and let's just say early on, there was confusion around that.
Well,
So-
thank you for
And this is
that.
writing all of that.
Thank you for bringing this forward. Any other questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
All right, next, County Council, item 1, approval of a settlement agreement with Robert Escudero and Clackamas County Employees Association to resolve litigation related to employment at Clackamas County Juvenile Department. Total value is $325,000. Funding is through the Clackamas County Juvenile Department, County Administration, and County Risk Funds, which will include $162,500 of county general funds. Sean Lilligren, County Counsel, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. This is about the termination of a juvenile department employee. His union, Mr. Escudero himself, challenged that termination. We attended a mediation on November 1. We have a settlement agreement for you that would resolve all claims, attorney's fees, back wages, and end permanently his employment relationship with the county. Any questions?
Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl.
Mr. Lilligren, I just want to thank you for closing this issue in the best interest of the people of Clackamas County and at the lowest cost. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you very much.
Next, still with County Council, item 2, approval of an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District related to construction of the Oak Lodge Library. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved. Jeff Munns, County Counsel, go ahead.
Thank you. So right back to the issue we discussed earlier, but now from the county's perspective. So I have nothing more to add, but happy to answer any other questions.
Questions or comments regarding this item? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All of these items for consent agenda will be on tomorrow's business meeting agenda. The meeting is tomorrow due to the Thanksgiving holiday, so we'll bring all of this to you tomorrow for your final approval. Next, Supportive Housing Services Oversight Committee recommendations. Rod Cook from Health, Housing, Human Services, please come forward. There is a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Rod. And Vahid Brown. Quick as possible, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello again, Commissioners. The Supportive Housing Services Oversight Committee currently has 2 vacancies from Clackamas County. Staff is seeking board approval of the top 2 ranked applicants to fill this vacancy. Following board approval, these applicants will be recommended to the Oversight Committee by Metro Council. I can give you the purpose of the council if you need that.
Are these reappointees, or is anybody new on here? I see 3 of them.
The 2 selected names brought forward today, Chair, are new. They would be new members to fill vacancies from 2 resignations of our Clackamas representatives. 2 representatives from Clackamas County resigned from the Oversight Committee during the past year, and this recruitment was meant to fill those, so these 2 people would be new to the committee.
Questions or comments? Gary, do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. The names are mentioned on page 2, and we need to include the names in the motion.
I move to approve Peter Rosenblatt and Kara Hash to serve as members of the Clackamas County on the Supportive Housing Services Oversight Committee.
Second.
Just a moment. Commissioner Savas has moved we approve Peter Rosenblatt and Kara Hash for the Supported Housing Services Oversight Committee of Clackamas County, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, Matt. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next, Board December business meeting schedule. Commissioners, as you know, normally the 2nd Thursday of the month, you hold an evening business meeting. The 2nd Thursday of December is December 14th, which is coming right up to the holiday season. And Chair Smith and I were discussing potentially moving the evening business meeting a week before, Thursday, December 7th. However, that is also when the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee meets, which Commissioner Savas and Commissioner West attend regularly. So my question to you, Commissioners, is do you want to have an evening business meeting on next week, Thursday, November 30th, or just skip on an evening business meeting for December and we'll reinstate that in January?
I prefer we just skip it
Yeah,
this time.
I do too.
So if you're all okay, we'll have no evening business meetings in the month of December. We'll reinstate the evening meetings in January.
Okay, thank
So
you very
December
much.
14th will be a morning meeting, not an evening meeting. We'll make sure notice is given out to the public and our staff.
Yep, thank you very much.
Commissioners. Next, Fair Board applicant interviews. It is, you have, oh boy, I think it's 2 vacancies. You have 2 vacancies on the Clackamas County Fair Board, and this is an advisory board that you like to interview candidates for. So today I'm only asking which one of you, or all of you, would like to interview candidates for the Clackamas County Fair Board.
I would.
I'd like to be the second person to do that.
Would anyone else like to do it?
No.
All right, so Chair Smith and Commissioner Schull, we will get you coordinated with staff, and we'll coordinate those interviews with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schull, for stepping up and helping with this.
Thank you very much. Next, review of your business meeting agenda for tomorrow, Thursday, November 22nd, 2023. It is one day earlier due to the Thanksgiving holiday. You will have all the consent agenda items you discussed today, as well as your normal course of business, public communication, and commissioner communications. If you have any questions on any items, please let me know today, and we'll be happy to answer it for you by the end of today. All right, Human Resources, are you ready to go now? Okay, great. Next, Prothman County Council recruitment discussion. We have our team from Human Resources, the Director, Evelyn Minor-Lawrence, Director of Human Resources, Jared Haddock, who is our recruitment manager, and from Prothman, the company you've chosen to support you in the recruitment of our new county council, Steve Worthington from Prothman. So whoever would like to kick it off, maybe Evelyn.
Well, welcome very
Please.
much.
Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. The only thing that I would add is that you should have in your packet a copy of the questions that Mr. Worthington is going to use in a way to solicit feedback in building the profile for the county council recruitment. And so we're here today to get feedback from you to build that profile so that we can actually launch the recruitment. Mr. Worthington will be taking the mic from here.
Very good. Thank you very much. First off, thank you for the opportunity to work with you on this recruitment. I know it's an important recruitment for the county, and it's an important one for Prothman as well. We appreciate your selection of us. To start with this, as Evelyn pointed out, we have 2 things, a series of questions that are in your packet. I'd also like you to just give me a general impression about the schedule that is behind those questions. That'll be kind of a second part if the board has time for that. And also as Evelyn pointed out, these questions help us develop a position profile, we refer to it as. It's a key piece in our recruitment. All the outreach we do drives people to that piece. It describes the community, it describes a position, and most importantly, and this is what today's about, it describes what you're looking for. And so I want to hear firsthand from you, if possible, what it is you're looking for in the next county council. There are 3 questions that I'd like to review with you. Excuse me, Chair Smith, may I ask those?
Oh, certainly, go ahead.
Thank you. So the first question has to do with what we referred to as sort of hard skills, but let me read the question as it's in your packet. What are the professional skills and work experiences that the new county council should bring into the position? And your comments I will use both in 2 ways. I will use them in the profile. I will also retain some of that information to use as screening as I get applications. I'll look at those. I screen the candidates myself, and I'll look at each one of those against the comments that you give me today, and also later we have a one-on-one meeting, then you may have further comments then as well.
Commissioners, let's open up for discussion on question number 1, professional skills and work experience. Commissioner West.
I just got to do this for the city of Wilsonville when we had to hire a new council. I personally find it beneficial if someone has a good understanding of what the unique structures of the Portland metro area and have some local government experience, somebody that has maybe practice in municipal law before or advised some type of structure like a board of county commissioners or city council or something along those lines. I think that brings valuable experience. I also, because we had the Aurora Airport issue in Wilsonville specifically, when we had city attorney staff that had some litigation experience, some ability to, and had really competent legal writing skills and the ability to litigate like at the Court of Appeals or the Oregon Supreme Court or things like that as land use things arise. I think I found that to be on big issues at the city of Wilsonville. When our staff had those skills, it was super helpful for us. So those are just a couple thoughts that I have.
Thank you.
And we also, commissioners, will have an opportunity to meet with them privately to add anything to this, although I do appreciate the discussion. regarding, in my opinion, skills and work experience, that's a basic qualification. I see nothing unique in this particular question. Correct? What we really need is a leader. The fact that they're lawyers and they meet all the requirements of law, they're able to go to court, litigate, do whatever. We need a firm, solid leader that can not only stand up to the vast constituency in Clackamas County, they need to be able to manage their department, and they need to be able to speak to the elected Board of County Commissioners in a leadership way, and they will not always agree with what we want, because mainly we oftentimes need to make sure we go down the legal path, if you understand what I'm saying. So we need a very strong leader on this. Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, just to build on that a little bit, I don't, every state's different, just like every county, seen one county, but we're part of a metro region, and we always don't really get our fair share because we are the smaller of the three metro counties, so therefore we don't have the population or the political recognition that the larger counties get. So I think that's one thing that we need to, be good neighbors and work with our other jurisdictions, but at the same time, be firm and creative in figuring out ways to at least get our fair share. So I think we have this regional challenge with so many jurisdictions, and it'd be nice to have someone with some experience with that or ability to navigate those challenges.
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader, and then Commissioner Scholl.
Yeah, sometimes as we deliberate, we can be a bit like herding cats. So I look for someone who can pick out the salient points that we are dealing with and help bring clarity to our discussions, because I'm not sitting with anyone here who has a law degree. I would not pretend to be a lawyer, but someone who can do that and give us the best advice to pretty much keep us out of trouble if possible. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. I think it's important for our next county council to be familiar with the legal history of Oregon revised statutes, some knowledge on the history of this county and the issues we've faced on litigation in the past. I also am hoping that our next council, as does the current council, will be truly concerned about the cost of government and protecting the assets of Clackamas County, and in doing so also acting in the best interest of our taxpayers and small business and families to ensure that Clackamas County is very efficient, and that every potential issue that could harm the county is dealt with very efficiently through the legal staff. Bottom line is knowledgeable counsel of Oregon law, and a council that's truly concerned about the welfare of the county and its people. Thank you.
All good comments. Commissioner West.
I just want to also piggyback off of what I think we're piggybacking off each other a little bit with Commissioner Savas has said is, I think it's, especially with a county like ours, this creativity piece is essential, and to have somebody bold enough and competent enough to work to the very edge of their scope of practice, to be creative, to think outside the box, to be willing to, when appropriate, be bold and to step out in a way that allows them to be a vanguard for Clackamas County. And basically, I don't think we have a Board of County Commissioners that always plays it safe, and I don't think our council should either, but we should do it judiciously and with wisdom. And so just having this, where have they done that before? How could they do that within this scope of practice? And where are they and really finding somebody that is comfortable fully using that full scope to the very limits and the edge of what the law will allow.
Okay, we're going to move on to question 2. Remember, we have 2 more questions, and we may have answered partially question 2, but we're going to tackle that. What are the 3 pending county challenges that the BCC will look to County Council for leadership? I'm offering that up to you. You know, that changes probably every few months. There's always challenges, and there's always hills to climb and dragons to slay. And I think County Council needs to be fluid and flexible in that. I believe County Council needs to consider ideas that they had not considered before, challenges that maybe they would be uncomfortable with, but nevertheless need to be made. Commissioner West, you said some of that just a moment ago. Specifically, I think it would be difficult for us to hash over the last several years of all the challenges that we have faced. I'm going to leave it to the rest of the commissioners, and then I will opine privately. Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, I think collectively, one common denominator for a long time has been that the state has engaged in a lot more legislative actions that are actually more local or land use oriented. And so having someone with some legislative experience and also the ability to work with other legal counsels from other counties to navigate some of that. I think that's one thing, and that applies to other aspects. It could be healthcare related, that's legislative, but having that experience and knowledge would be beneficial.
Commissioner West.
Somebody with extensive land use knowledge, especially within the metro area for specific policy concern, especially as we deal with urban growth boundaries, housing, and things like that. There's more legal issues and challenges potentially coming up with addiction, homelessness, and housing services within that scope. Behind the scenes, we've had some pretty creative conversations about our scope of ability to manage that issue under the law. You've even seen challenges come out of Portland, like public camping bans and things like that, where they've tried to flex their local muscle a little bit to try to solve these problems. I think there's a lot of legal questions with that that's new to the state of Oregon. And I also think we often have to deal with legal questions around public safety. It could be, right before earlier today, we had an employment issue. We've had all kinds of the different lawsuits that come before the county. And so just a little bit of wide variety and understanding about how that public safety piece works and employment law and things like that. Those would be things I'd be looking to see their experience level within priorities of the county.
Commissioner Schrader.
I would say employment litigation is something that we always do, and just litigation in general, oftentimes with public safety as well. And really being ready and able to handle whatever particular new novel litigation is that's going to be thrown at us. So,
Any other questions or comments on item number 2? We will move to item number 3. And remember, commissioners, we'll have one-on-one meetings if you so desire to add more comments here, okay? Number 3, what are the professional attributes, characteristics that the new county council will need to be successful in this role? Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, this is one I think that is partly 1 and 3, but I'll just say it out loud. And as I was listening to my colleagues speak, I realized that we ought to not take for granted what we have today, but recognize what we have today in Mr. Madcor's experience. And I think he has been a really good team leader, team builder with his staff. I appreciate that, and working with other department heads as well. So he's been very cooperative. I really appreciate that. He's always been accessible, and he's always been responsive. So those are two different, those are nuanced, right? I mean, being responsive to a question and taking a question are two different things. So I just want to just say those are the, I think, imperative that we have someone that has those skills. And getting back to my other, and Commissioner West kind of carried my thoughts a little farther, and just to build on that, in this region or the state, I know we have to play nice in the sandbox. We have to have good relationships, but at the same time, being creative and trying to solve some of these things, I think, is imperative. And I think while we have a lot going on internally, what I'm kind of referring to is more external, even though it affects us internally, but I think it's both. So that might be something as the region and the state is engaging in more and more land use related, transportation related decision-making that would typically be local or regional. It's just making it very, very difficult for us.
Agreed. Any other comments? I just have two. This particular position is maybe unique with our governance model at Clackamas County in that the BCC has 2 employees, and they are at-will employees, and County Council is one of those. So therefore, his accessibility really is paramount to us. Secondly, the relationship building with other jurisdictions, and Stephen Madcore has done that wonderfully. He has also done the previous one wonderfully too. So we would certainly like to clone Stephen in certain areas, but maybe go beyond what is currently being done, only because of our changing society. Things are coming at us like this and this and this. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. And thank you for your on-point comments, by the way, but that definitely will help us with our brochure. The other thing I wanted to touch on was we've included a schedule. There's several different steps to that schedule, but the ones I wanted to call to your attention are the ones in dark color or highlighted. There's today's meeting, for example, and then towards the end of the process, there's 2 times that I would be back before you. One of those is for what we refer to as an executive work session. This is the time that I bring the candidates to you that we received. I bring materials about the interviews, the screening interviews that I've had with them, and you see their entire application packet. We believe that is executive qualified. We leave that to your counsel, of course, but my assumption is it'll be an executive meeting because of that. In the process of that, you will select who you wish to invite to final interview. The reason I want to bring that to your attention is, of course, we're looking for all of you to be available. I would anticipate that it's about a 90-minute process, maybe a little less, it's hard to tell. But at this point, I would plan for a 90-minute process, somewhere in the dates I've outlined there. I want to give you an idea of what the purpose of that is. Once you've selected whoever you choose, or no one at all, in which case we'll run the process again and bring new candidates to you, the next step after that is final interviews. That'll take place in the dates, the dates that are identified there, or alternates if you choose. Final interviews you should at this point anticipate as an all-day process. I know that can be difficult, so I want to give you as much heads-up opportunity to coordinate around calendars as possible. We'll do everything we can to coordinate with your calendar. Getting as much advance notice is one of the ways we can get there.
Okay.
Thank you. And then, following that, you would make a hiring decision, and we would negotiate the details, or you would negotiate the details.
Thank you. I think the scheduling is going to be the most difficult aspect to this. What if, for instance, the scenario played out? What if we didn't have 6 to 12 candidates, as you say here, that are equally qualified? Would we have to delay the schedule?
If ultimately you would need to, not to fall down too far into the weeds, but if at the work session you say, gee, thank you, Steve, none of these candidates are going to work, we'll start the process again. We do not charge you a second service fee. You would have to pay for advertising. That's your cost. Okay. But that's going to take basically 6 to 7 weeks from when we restarted.
Okay, so I'm just trying to be making sure if the commissioners really want to interview the candidates, we need to get that on our schedule so we can adjust our schedules. Like I'm booked 2 months out as chair, and other commissioners may have plans that the rest of us don't know about. I mean, it just happens as part of life. So I think the most difficult aspect of this is scheduling. So if you all could work with Gary and our PAs on that, it'd be appreciated. Commissioner West.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to call that to your attention, and thank you for making time for me today, and I'm glad to get our project started with you.
Commissioner West.
Yeah, and I feel a little unfortunate as this rolls out. I will be in Rhode Island for the Navy during basically all of March. I think I have a little window at the end of February, but I'll try to be as involved as I can be. I think this is super important.
Well, if we can, we'll have you Zoom in.
We'll see if the Navy will let me.
We'll
They
see.
might. They might.
But like I say, you know, we all have situations here, and they're really important situations, and then life gets a hold of you in general. So we'll do everything we can to be available for this very important decision.
Very good. Great.
Thank you. Any other, you shouldn't talk so much.
I know, this time, no.
Wow, and you're sitting in the important
I
seat.
know, and here I am. But no, Steve did a great job, and I think, Chair Smith, I really appreciate you and your comments about the schedule, because in my experience, scheduling is sometimes the hardest piece. And it's a little bit fluid, because as Chair Smith did mention, life does happen. And if we do need to pivot, that will come back to the board, and we'll make that known in transparency.
Okay, Commissioner Schrader?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, because when you mentioned schedules, I started to look. And we
Yes.
are scheduled from the 19th through the 22nd to have a BCC recess.
What day?
February 19th through the 22nd, which week of February 19th through 23rd. Now, we can all be here anyway. Just because it's a recess doesn't mean that we can't, but I don't know why that's on my schedule, but it is. Yeah.
We'll make, Gary?
Yes, you, several months ago, you approved the President's Day week as a board recess.
Okay.
You certainly could change that. I asked you, let me work with HR offline on the schedule, and also you, Commissioner West. I do feel it's really important you all five be here for these interviews. This is someone hopefully will serve you 10 years perhaps. So we'll work out the schedule. I'll work with HR.
Okay.
We'll have it all ready for you in about 2 weeks, but we'll work it out that it meets your schedule.
Good, thank you. All right, is that the conclusion of your presentation today?
It is.
It does.
Thank you all for coming forward. Gary, are we going to take a little break?
Yes, if I may, before they go. So we're next coming back to you, Commissioners, on December 5th. Right, yeah, December 5th to finalize the job position announcement so that it can be posted. So that'll be your next decision point. We'll come back to you at that point. Yes, so this session is now done. We still have Commissioner Communications, Chair, if you'd like to do that before we take a break. Or
It's
not.
up to commissioners, would you like to?
Yeah, let's knock it out.
Paul, go ahead, and we'll just go down the line. I want to step outside and talk with Evelyn for a moment. I'll meet you outside. Commissioner Scholl, you have the gavel.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner
Well,
Salas?
I think what I want to say, I really prefer to have the chair here, so I might just defer to another colleague.
Okay. Commissioner Schrader?
Okay, I am looking up my schedule to let you know what I've been doing. If you give me a moment here.
Commissioner Schrader, while you're looking that up, would you
Go ahead and
like
let-
Commissioner West to?
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner
okay,
West.
take your time.
Thank you. I am going to take my time to talk about the RAC funding that we already voted on without a full board here. I know Commissioner Savas, you were out ill. That's the Regional Arts Cultural Council. We had previously given them funding for $62,000. After a lot of research and kind of doing additional due diligence, I think that it was, we might have missed an opportunity. I think it's clear, and they did prove through documentation that we give them 62, but we almost get 2 to 1 or maybe even $3 to $1 back through other means and sources from other grants, federal dollars, other local dollars they're able to go after in a way that I don't think our local Clackamas County Arts Alliance, which is fantastic, nothing against them, have been able to show that they can leverage in that capacity. Anytime we can take $1 and make it $3 more, I think that is just really good fiscal sense. They also really do support some essential programs in the county. I don't know if you guys have ever had the chance to do this. I absolutely recommend you do it. Is the Youth Music Project down here in Westland. You'll go down the roundabout and you'll probably see it used to be an old church, you'll see a stained glass window of Janis Joplin. That's quite epic and beautiful. And you walk into their entryway, and there also is the Oregon Music Hall of Fame. The Decemberists, Linda Hornbuckle, and other amazing Oregon artists are featured there. Beautiful art in the lobby. Children who cannot afford to cover costs for music and those courses and classes. Many foster care children, they receive those services for free. They do amazing concerts, state-of-the-art type of like access to like recording equipment. You can learn how to break down music, and through their kind of digital programming, they teach kids how to break down music and songs and to splice things together and have fun with that. I found it to be one of the coolest tours I've done in the county since being a commissioner. The money that they were asking for to help with their operation costs and to have a consistency within their operation costs is at risk because we didn't fund $62,000. This is a drop in the bucket, and this money multiplies like little. And I think that is a good investment. We have other people that have come and testified before this board where it negatively impacted their ability to be to do their local artistic work, which also feeds the local economy in a way that's really important. I just want to make the case that we look at this again. I think that this is a good investment. I think this is something that we should not have taken funding away from. So anybody else who wants to speak to this, but there's example after example. I think the Lakewood Theater, which Commissioner Schrader, we've gone to a few shows ourselves there, right? You're on the board. And that is an essential cultural piece to Clackamas County that's quite special. I just feel like we need to do this.
So, Commissioner, are you suggesting to bring this back at another date or to bring it here today?
I mean, we can vote right now.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, you can.
So if I recall right, it was with lottery dollars, so this is not general fund, is that correct?
Correct,
Barry?
lottery dollars,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm sorry I couldn't be here that day. I think that was the day I was ill or I had an appointment. Don't know which one it was.
You were ill.
Either way.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before and previously, that it was something that I would support. So I would support it here today as well.
Okay. Should I make a motion?
Commissioner West, let the chair take her seat and then restate your motion, please.
What are we talking about?
The Regional Arts Cultural Council funding.
What do you want?
I want to fund it.
Nope, I am totally against this whatsoever. This board has come out and made very strong recommendation not to do this, and I'm going to recommend that this board stay with that decision. I don't know what was said in my absence, but we are funding our Clackamas County artists through the funding of the Clackamas County Arts Alliance. And I don't know, like I say, I wasn't privy to this discussion, but if there is outside pressure that you're receiving on this, there's always outside pressure on funding decisions. And this has been a problem for a long time. I don't know if you're privy, Commissioner West, to a recent news article that came out regarding some changes at that agency, but I don't support it. But Commissioner Scholl, go ahead.
Yes, Chair Smith, while you're out, during Commissioner Liaison comments, Commissioner West brought up the RAC issue, and he supports it. I do recall we had a big discussion on this. We voted not to support the RAC this year. So anyway, that's how this came up.
There are two lights on. I don't know who wants to speak first.
Yeah. So I was absent one day in which the last discussion and vote occurred, so I believe it was a tie. I don't know if it was poised as a tie being a no vote or a tie being a yes, not a yes vote, obviously, but a neutral stance. So I don't recall. I do recall when the RAC staff were here presenting, and I can't remember where we left it off, but I think we had some questions. I think we were indecisive. And again, I apologize for missing it, but if there was a motion on the floor, I would second it.
What was the motion?
No motion was made yet, Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, I did attend. Lakewood had an event where it had our Clackamas County group, the RAC people, everybody who had anything to do in arts, with a speaker that talked about the multiplier effect of the arts. So I don't dispute that. RAC did approach me at this meeting, however, and they said, well, And here's my question. They said, well, we've just refused grants to people from Clackamas County for the arts. So my frank question is this: should we revisit this and decide to fund them? Are they going to fund the artists that applied for those grants? That's the big question I have. And I don't know the answer to that yet. But I would be, the only reason I'm reluctant is because this is lottery dollars, and I don't like us raiding lottery dollars all the time for things. And maybe that's a harsh word to say raid, but it's supposed to be for economic development. It does put us in an awkward position. I did vote yes the first time to fund RAC. Should it come up again, I would not change my vote. But I suggest that we make sure, if this is what this outcome is today, and it's a little bit sprung upon us, okay,
You should
Ben?
have given us a head up.
Okay, I mean, a little bit sprung upon us, that we would have to insist that we definitely get what they say they're going to give us, and I would expect those artists to be funded fully from this county. But
Well, you know, it's not the first time that an agency or group has not liked the action that this Board of County Commissioners has taken. And then they have come back to us and threatened us with a certain action and/or blackmailed us to try to change our vote. I find that very disingenuous. I find that really a horrific position to be in for this organization, and I'm not kowtowing to it. Commissioner?
I'm okay with it.
Yes. If there is a sincere intent to relook at the RAC issue, I recommend that it be taken up in a way to allow other commissioners to consider the facts once again. I, for one, don't feel comfortable making a decision on a RAC funding today. Thank you.
Commissioner West?
So there was no blackmail with me. There was no disingenuous behavior. There was nothing like that. This is something that I've continued to talk about with multiple people within Clackamas County and some of you on the board about bringing this back up, and just saying, I want to revisit when we had a full board here. Commissioner Savas was ill. It was a tied vote, and not just me, but many of the staff have done a lot of more due diligence to show truly the multiplying effect of those dollars. That's a good fiscal, I just can't get around how that is very good fiscal policy. And when we give them one and we get three in return back to our community for essential programming, that to me makes a lot of fiscal sense and is fiscally responsible. I'm more than happy to bring this back. I think Commissioner Schrader brings really good questions regarding okay, what happens with this funding cycle? And I would like to know the answers to that too. There has been some changeover recently within the RAC organization, and I'm aware of that. So I'm just, and this is not totally, nobody knew I was going to talk about it today, but it also wasn't really sprung either. So this has been an issue that I've been talking about for quite a few weeks and a couple months. So I'm willing to hold my motion, but I'm likely, if we can get some of those essential questions answers, to bring it in the future.
Gary, for clarification on our governance model, what is a tie vote?
So Tony looked this up. It was September 20th, 2023. The board voted. There were only 4 of you present, and it was 2 yes, 2 no. But because there was not a quorum, a majority, it failed. The motion failed because there was not enough to vote yes. That's the last time you discussed this.
Okay. Also, Commissioners, we've given $200,000 to the Clackamas County Alliance, of which we will be hiring Clackamas County artists, at least in part. That's also going to leverage us money to apply for other organizations, and that was very vital. I would make the argument that we have given more money to arts than we ever have in the history. Number 2, Commissioner West, you have never talked to me about bringing RAC back. I don't remember that. If my memory is faulty, I'm always available, phone call in my office. So this was a big surprise to me today, and I will say I don't appreciate it unless we have more of a formal discussion to do this is why. And if Commissioner Schrader is right, that they have said that they would not grant Clackamas County artists their grants, yes, that is a threat. And yes, that is blackmail. That's the way it goes down. I don't appreciate that. It was said to Commissioner Schrader. It may not have been said to you, but if that's the situation, Commissioner Schrader, you up.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that. I didn't, Chair, with all due respect, I didn't feel blackmailed. They just said to me at this that there were artists who had applied and they couldn't, because we have not contributed, they can't legitimately send them the money. They were just informing me of that, and
Well, of course it
just
is.
be
It's
honest.
veiled, isn't it? Because they have presented to this board, oh, we give grants to Clackamas County in a matching fashion.
That's
Okay?
true, yeah.
They can match that. They match that with over, I would say, 75% what our money is. So what they could do is maybe they don't fund, I don't even know how many artists they fund. They've never told us the number of the artists that they funded. But let's say they fund 10 artists. So maybe they can dial it back for 6 artists. That is a possibility, not just, oh, we're not going to fund any Clackamas County artists whatsoever. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Yeah, I had, Commissioner West has talked to me about this, and I said, sure, if it comes back, then I would certainly entertain it. So I wouldn't want to surprise anyone, so I would happily join Commissioner West in a request to bring this back in the near future.
And I'm okay with that as well, but I also want to put our Clackamas County Arts Alliance, I'm not sure where they're not giving grants to local artists either. If I'm going to be fair to everybody, I'm kind of, well,
And
one
you know
group
why,
says they
don't
give
you?
us, they give smaller grants, but not to the level that they can leverage from the National Endowment for the Arts. That's the issue see, and they have never built themselves up, and I'm a big supporter of them too. But my question is, why have you not moved up to that level of acuity in accessing federal dollars?
I think because RAC is ahead of them and they represent themselves to the NEA as the
Okay.
go-to entity, and that's an issue too. But
Okay.
they can only do what they can only do. Staffing at our county level, I believe it's an issue, and I believe they work very hard. But if commissioners want to address this later, we will try to find time in the schedule. I believe we're mostly scheduled out for January. We have a lot of work in January. I don't think we can get it up for what's remaining for the rest of the year, but we'll take a look.
Okay.
At our next meeting. Commissioner Savas.
Well, Chair, I will say that if it turns out that it'd be next year sometime to approve this, I'd be more inclined to move more swiftly. But I also want to be respectful of not having this popped on all of us. I don't think that was Commissioner West's intention, but probably, if there are questions, I think it's responsible to get some answers to those questions. I heard some things here I didn't know about. I want to research that a little bit. But Chair, I'm hopefully it won't take as much time as we already spent to approve this, and I just respectfully request maybe we do it within the next couple of weeks somehow.
Well, we can, Commissioner Savas, and I can remove something off the agenda that is equally as important to commissioners. So if you leave it up to my discretion to remove another item, we probably can do this.
Okay.
I want to say, I didn't plan on saying this, but it's been something on my mind, and that is that for my tenure here as a county commissioner, I was actively working on Monday all day. I was actively working here with my colleagues all day on Tuesday and half of Wednesday and with you all, and also on Thursday. And the remainder of those times when we weren't working together, I was either having meetings or other discussions in place. So I'm used to that. We've lost a lot of Tuesday afternoons. While that might be freedom for some, I think we could, I'm used to working from here from 1:30 to 4 o'clock. That's what we typically did before. And if we left here at 3:30, that was an early day. So,
Well, we didn't have the Wednesday meetings. That's why, Commissioner Savas. Wednesday, we didn't have a lot of meetings.
We actually did a lot of Wednesdays.
I, for one, work all day on Mondays as well. I'm currently doing that, so that's not an issue. But like I say, we'll figure this out, Gary.
Yes.
What's next? Have all commissioners made their comments?
Chair Smith, Commissioner Schrader has not given a liaison, nor have I.
Yeah, I just want to say a few brief things, and that is that we were all at the Association of Oregon Counties last week. One of the highlights for me was speaking at the Women of County Government, which was a Monday night dinner where all the women and many of the women who are commissioners in the state of Oregon gathered. And I had the opportunity to introduce my friend and mentor, that is Commissioner Winfrey. From Joliet, Illinois, in that area, and she has been fantastic. She has been a friend of mine for a number of years, and she really gave an inspirational speech about how we all need to be lifting each other up as women electeds. So, Chair, I'm here for you. Okay, there we go. And also, I had an opportunity, I wanted to let you know that Commissioner Bethel, who is the new incoming president, has reappointed me to the board of the National Association of Counties. And basically, I have committed to her, if we are at these NACO meetings together, I will do everything I can to help her meet not only the executive director, but a lot of the contacts I have made at the national level, whether she's interested in public safety, whether she's interested in human resources. And I've committed the same thing to do with our commissioner here as well, Commissioner West. So that was fun to, from my perspective anyway, and I meet this respectfully with all the young folks who are really going to be the up-and-comers, quite frankly, as someone like myself moves eventually into the sunset here in my days as working on a commission. That being said, the other thing I really enjoyed about the meeting was knowing that finally I have been on the executive committee for the past 3 years because I've had colleagues that have not gotten reelected who have been president of the Association of Oregon Counties. So I kept cycling back, and I told Derek DeGroot, the outgoing president, to please, please, please get elected again so he can be the returning president. So I can take a break from the executive committee and just do some work, on governance and finance and economic development. So that's my report. I think we all enjoyed the conference. All of us were there. It's a great networking event, and we learn a lot. So there you go.
Commissioner Scholl, you're up.
Yes, thank you. At the last Metro Policy Advisory Committee meeting, we were briefed by Metro on the 2024 Urban Growth Management Decision. The decision will be made through the Urban Growth Report, which on their schedule will be, the rough draft will be done in April of 2024 and presented to the public for input, and then finalized by December of 2024. I bring that to your attention. I know that the staff and planning is up on this. But my concern is that Clackamas County needs to have their nose in this action to ensure that our interests are going to be reflected in that draft report come April. And so, again, I know that the staff is tracking on this, but I'm very concerned that by December of 2024, the final urban growth boundary decision, which will be based on readiness of land in the UGB, capacity of that, and the demand for residential and commercial land, the report's going to come out in such a way that Clackamas County is going to be looking good in what happens to that urban growth boundary. As you know, I'm an advocate of some sort of relief from Senate Bill 100 that goes back to 1973, which is causing this choking on our county and our inability to actually expand to create new land for residential and commercial projects that will bring down the cost of those projects and thereby stimulate our economy. So I bring that to your attention. 2024 is the year for the Metro Urban Growth Boundary decision. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is last week I was at the government camp CPO. We talked about the short-term rental regulation, and I was happy to receive a positive anticipation from the group up there on the short-term rental administration startup here in the near future. And one final thing, as we look at our forest products in Clackamas County and statewide, we're constantly under increasing threat of having our harvest reduced. And last week at the AOC conference, the Council on Forest Trust Land Counties, those 15 counties that have forest land managed by the Oregon Department of Forestry, we met. Chair Smith, you were there at the meeting. Right now, the Habitat Conservation Plan is being looked at to be increased. And if that happens, some 40% of the 650,000 acres of ODF managed land in those 15 counties could be no harvest. And right now, not just in Clackamas County, we're down to like 2 main sawmills, and other counties are suffering the same way. They're once thriving timber industries. They're communities that supported families, paid for school, police, fire, that put kids through school.
That's right.
Who, the very industry that utilized for so many years in this state the timber we have, very valuable, billions of board feet of growth a year in the state of timber that should be harvested to stimulate those communities and bring true wealth and prosperity to not just the Clackamas County, but every county that once relied on timber. So again, I bring this up just to make sure you're aware that in our county, we could be looking at further reduction in harvest if this Habitat Conservation Plan is expanded. And ODF is suggesting, like the federal government did with the Secure Rural Schools Act when the spotted owl came by and shut down our harvest. Now ODF is suggesting that a direct payment in lieu of harvest receipts might be acceptable, but the problem is a direct payment is like a welfare check to a community that once was proud, a proud community that supported itself and it generated real income to not just for the city or the county, but for revenue for the state of Oregon. So just want to make you aware of that. And with that, thank you very much.
Commissioner Scholl, you're very right about the timber, and you've summarized it well. Commissioners, I am going to forego my commissioner communication today because I think we need to take a break.
Commissioner Savas has
Oh, I thought you spoke.
I'm
Oh, I
sorry.
beg your
No,
pardon.
I didn't. No worries, no worries. I'm going to be brief. I'll just share most of my comments tomorrow, but I do want to just build on one thing Commissioner Scholl said and just add one thing I did want to say today in your presence, Chair. So my concern about the UGB is they take another swath at a take. That's my concern.
Exactly.
And also bear in mind the Metro Auditors report that demonstrated they need 90,000 more units, and I just don't know where those are going to be built.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the metro region, not the state. That's the metro region. We need 90 more. As I read that, I'll go back and read it again. If I'm in error, I'm in error. But what I did want to report to you all is that after a very difficult week last week, Thursday morning at JPAC, I ultimately, the Buck Amendment did pass. Another amendment I made did not pass. I ultimately voted against the RTP amendment. I was the only one of the group that did. So I just want to give you that update. I have a lot of concerns about some of the conversation. The amendment that I had asked for at the end was simply something that would generate a direction in the RTP to strive towards regional balance in transportation investments, to fill gaps and so forth. And I have not been able to pass that. And the comments I heard back such that it sounded almost like that because of some things I'll talk about tomorrow, that may never happen. So therefore, I think we have to look at this completely different. I share with you 25 years of public service frustration and not getting our share or attention to some of the key issues, and some of it's policy, which doesn't cost much. But if there's a genuine effort not to invest in our county, or we are being basically ruled out by not qualifying for transportation projects because of the criteria that we don't meet, I don't see how that really serves not only Clackamas County residents, but frankly, those who drive through our county, who live everywhere.
Commissioner Salas, I'd like you to talk more about that tomorrow at the meeting. We're pressed for time, and would you please give us a briefing on what exactly was passed at the RTP, and just hold that thought for tomorrow, if you would, please.
Sure.
Yeah, I would like more information on that. Commissioners, we're going to take a break. I'm going to forego my commissioner communication for today. I'd like to take a break at 5 minutes, and we will reconvene at 11:40. Thank you very much.